Intelligence rarely announces itself. It does not always speak the loudest in the room. It does not demand attention. It does not always come wrapped in perfect grades, prestigious titles, or effortless confidence. More often, it moves quietly. It questions when others accept. It notices what others overlook. It wrestles with complexity long after the conversation has ended. And sometimes the people who possess it most deeply are the least aware of it. They underestimate themselves. They assume their inner world is ordinary. They believe their doubts are proof of inadequacy rather than evidence of depth. Tonight we're going deeper. We're exploring the top 5 signs you are more intelligent than you think. Not the obvious signs. Not the ones measured by tests or applause. But the subtle indicators that reveal a mind operating beneath the surface. We're starting with number 5. You question your own beliefs. Many people inherit opinions and defend them fiercely. They attach identity to ideology. They protect conclusions as if changing them would fracture who they are. But if you often find yourself re-examining your own views, replaying arguments in your head, wondering if you missed something, that discomfort may not be weakness. It may be cognitive flexibility. Intelligent minds are rarely rigid. They are aware that information evolves, that context shifts, that certainty can be misleading. Questioning yourself can feel destabilizing. It can create internal tension. But that tension is often the byproduct of depth. It means you are not satisfied with surface-level explanations. It means you are willing to sacrifice comfort for accuracy. Doubt in this form is not ignorance. It is intellectual humility. And humility is often a gateway to growth. Number 4. You get bored with shallow conversations. Small talk has its place. It smooths social edges. It fills silence. But if you frequently find yourself disengaged when discussions remain superficial, it may signal a craving for complexity. Intelligent individuals often feel energized by ideas, by systems, by patterns. They want to understand why something works, not just that it works. They want to explore consequences, origins, implications. This can sometimes create social friction. You may feel out of sync in environments that prioritize surface over substance. You may question why others seem content with repetition, while your mind searches for novelty. But boredom in shallow exchanges often reflects an appetite for depth. It suggests your mind is wired to explore layers rather than skim surfaces. Number 3. You are highly observant. Observation is a quiet skill. It does not demand recognition. It often operates in the background. But if you frequently notice subtle shifts in tone, body language, patterns in behavior, inconsistencies in narratives, you are engaging in complex processing. Intelligence is not only about producing answers, it's about detecting nuance. Highly observant individuals gather data constantly. They read environments. They sense dynamics before they are spoken. This can sometimes feel overwhelming. You may absorb emotional atmospheres. You may analyze interactions long after they end. But this depth of perception is a cognitive strength. It means your brain is mapping reality with precision. It means you are constructing detailed internal models of how the world functions. And detailed models allow for better predictions, better decisions, better adaptation. Now we approach number 2. But before we move forward, pause with me for a moment. If this exploration resonates, if you are recognizing pieces of yourself in these patterns, let us know in the comments. And if you appreciate deep, unsettling storytelling that uncovers the hidden dimensions of the human mind, consider liking this video and subscribing to Deeper 5. Because the final sign challenges something many people misunderstand about intelligence entirely. Number 2. You overthink. Society often labels overthinking as a flaw. It is associated with anxiety, hesitation, second-guessing. And while excessive rumination can be draining, it also reflects a mind that simulates possibilities. When you replay conversations, anticipate outcomes, analyze decisions from multiple angles, you are running mental models. You are stress-testing scenarios before they unfold. This cognitive rehearsal can create exhaustion, but it also indicates complexity of thought. Intelligent minds tend to generate branches. If this happens, then that. If not this, then what else? The downside is analysis paralysis. The upside is strategic foresight. Overthinking becomes destructive only when it prevents action entirely, but its existence often reveals a capacity for depth that should not be dismissed. It is easier to act impulsively. It is harder to examine consequences from multiple perspectives. And finally, number 1. You feel like you are not as intelligent as others think you are. This may be the most unsettling sign of all. The phenomenon, often called imposter syndrome, is disproportionately common among high-performing individuals. When you understand how much you do not know, your awareness expands. And as awareness expands, certainty shrinks. Those with limited understanding often experience inflated confidence because they cannot see the boundaries of their ignorance. But when you grasp the complexity of systems, the layers of nuance in problems, the vastness of unknowns, humility becomes inevitable. Feeling unintelligent in certain rooms may not mean you lack intelligence. It may mean you recognize the scale of knowledge. This awareness can create insecurity. It can make achievements feel accidental. But paradoxically, it often accompanies genuine depth. Because the more you know, the more you understand what remains undiscovered. When you step back and consider these 5 signs together, a pattern emerges. Intelligence is not always loud. It questions itself. It seeks depth. It observes carefully. It analyzes thoroughly. It remains humble in the face of complexity. These traits can feel isolating. They can create internal tension. They can make you doubt your own capability, but they also reflect a mind engaged with reality in a nuanced way. The world often rewards visible confidence, quick answers, decisive statements. But true intelligence frequently operates beneath visible layers. It pauses. It recalibrates. It listens more than it speaks. Somewhere tonight, someone is assuming they are average because they struggle with self-doubt. Someone is mistaking curiosity for confusion. Someone is labeling depth as overcomplication. And somewhere else, someone with less awareness is moving through life with unwavering certainty, never questioning their conclusions. The unsettling truth is that intelligence and insecurity often coexist, not because intelligence creates weakness, but because it exposes complexity. When you see more variables, decisions feel heavier. When you perceive more nuance, certainty feels fragile. But fragility does not equal deficiency. It often signals awareness. Perhaps the deeper question is not whether you're intelligent. Perhaps it is how you define intelligence in the first place. If it is defined solely by speed, by recall, by dominance in conversation, you may overlook quieter forms. But if intelligence includes adaptability, depth, observation, humility, and self-reflection, the picture changes. You may begin to reinterpret your doubts, your boredom with triviality, your relentless analysis, your awareness of what you do not know. These may not be flaws to eliminate. They may be strengths to refine. Intelligence is not a trophy. It is a process, a continuous negotiation between what is known and what remains uncertain. And those who live in that negotiation, who wrestle with complexity rather than flee from it, often underestimate themselves precisely because they understand how much there is to grasp. As the night grows quiet and thoughts drift inward, consider this. The loudest minds are not always the deepest. The most certain voices are not always the most informed. And the quiet individual who questions, observes, analyzes, and doubts may be navigating reality with far greater sophistication than they realize. Intelligence does not always feel powerful. Sometimes it feels heavy. Sometimes it feels isolating. Sometimes it feels like standing at the edge of an endless landscape of unknowns. But perhaps that edge is not a sign of limitation. Perhaps it is a sign that you have looked further than most. And in that quiet recognition, there may be a different kind of confidence waiting to emerge.